with me every time.
Hi, I'm Andrew Leong,
I'm Jamie Rice.
and welcome to #Ambitious.
In this episode, we're going to be looking at what an influencer is and what impact it could have on your business.
So, unless you've been hiding under a rock recently, you've probably heard of influencers and influencer marketing. But just in case you haven't, an influencer, they take many forms. They can be a celebrity, they can be an industry leader, a YouTuber, an Instagrammer, a normal person. It's basically anyone with a substantial following or a loyal following. So it doesn't have to be a massive following. They just have to have a degree of influence within their social circle or their sphere of influence.
Yeah, and like Andrew just touched on, there's a wide range. So depending on your business, you might want to go for a really niche influencer to do some work with. So I don't know, say for example, if you sell a product aimed at mums, there's dozens and dozens, or hundreds and hundreds of mum bloggers out there who all have, well not all, but there's a percentage of them who have a really strong following. So if you were to work with that influencer and they promoted your product that was aimed at mums, it's just a perfect synergy really. If you get it right, if you work with the right influencer, they can put your product in front of your target audience, and the target audience respects and admires usually that influencer.
It's a good point, Jamie. So I suppose we might as well talk about it now. So I guess you're talking about micro influencers there. So you have got the difference between macro influencers, like your Kim Kardashians, your famous people, and then your micro influencers, who could be your mum blogs and stuff. We've got some experience working with influencers, haven't we? We work with some micro ones, and there is a big difference between working with.
That's it. I mean, you can get some great micro ones, but you can also get some absolutely terrible micro ones that will maybe receive a product and then never actually do anything with it, or they'll do the bare minimum. So it's I think one of the most important things if you are going to work with a micro influencer is to build a bit of rapport with them first before you jump straight in, to actually get to know them, see what they do, see what they've done for other brands or other businesses, before you quick to give them money or give them a product to review or wherever it might be. Because that's what we're going to touch on. Although micro influencers tend to be far less expensive than working with a macro size influencer, sometimes you get what you pay for. If someone has got a very small following and it's they're doing it in the spare time, they've got a full-time job, it may not be as committed, or might not do you the best service. So it's really important to screen any influencers you work with. Yeah,
there was a study done, I think it was last year. It was either last year or 2016 by a company called Media Kicks, and they found, they analysed a lot of big brands who use a lot of influencers, and they found that macro influencers, although they cost more, you get a better return on investment. It was more cost effective. They were just far more professional to work with. As well, the micro influencers, they required they had a little bit of less professionalism, so they required more work and more time. But they had also less engagement than the macro influencers. So macro influencers had more likes, more comments, and just overall more reach. So their findings found that macro influencers were just better overall. But then again, the studies now say micro influencers are better. So
yeah, and as well, I suppose it just depends on your budget as well. I mean, you may not have the money to invest in a macro influencer because depending on what sector you're in, a macro influencer, their budgets can range from £5,000-10,000 plus right into the hundreds of thousands for a photograph or a couple of photographs. So it really does depend on your budget, which route you go down. I suppose it's just using, as with any advertising platform, is using your money intelligently to make sure you get in front of as many people as possible, with the right person working with you.
That probably leads on to why we should probably talk about how you can approach and work with influencers. So, if you're looking for influencers to work with, a good way is just to look at hashtags within your industry. So if you sell flowers, hashtagging, flowers or Mother's Day or birthdays, etc., and see what's trending and who are the top followers, and then approaching, take it from that, take it to the DMs and comments and likes and start engaging with that influencer. Is there anything to add to?
One of the ones I think is, it's not always true, but the influencers that proactively contact you, in my experience, tend to be the less useful ones, purely because they can't be very good at what they do on the whole, because the good influencers have got people knocking on their doors as opposed to proactively going out and sending blanket emails to anyone and everyone trying to get some sort of influencer work. So yeah, before you work with anyone who proactively contacts you, just make sure you check them out and see if you can find what sort of track record they've got, if they've worked with anyone else in the past, and what sort of results they've gained. Just because, in my experience, they tend to be lower quality.
Yeah, I can relate to that as well. I think, if you want to play it safe, there's a couple of ways to do it. So rather than, if you don't want to go alone, like hashtagging and finding an influencer, you can work with an influencer agency who will act as a middle person between you and an influencer. There's platforms you can use. You can go on, and the influencer will be a member of that platform, and you'll use that platform as a way to work with the influencer, and that platform will show you, the engagement, and you'll be able to measure your success or lack of success. Whereas, are there any other ways you can work with an influencer?
They're the main ways, really. Obviously going out searching hashtags, proactively contacting people. One of the things I try and avoid, though, is look at your competitors. And I quite often see in sort of like men's fashion, particularly at the moment, there's the same 2 or 3 influencers working with a wide range of brands. So I think it's always important, if you do go off and proactively search, just check out that they're not also doing influencer marketing for your competitors, because that's one I think would sort of sting you a bit, because they're not going to be as passionate about your brand if they're working on another men's brand the next week and they've done another one the week before. There's a lot of influencers at the moment who are just sort of churning out and jumping from brand to brand when you really want the best results and advocate.
Yeah, you want someone who's a real advocate of your brand. You've seen it before. Well, I've seen it a lot of times, especially on Instagram. You can look through someone's feed, and they might be a watch Instagrammer, and they've just got watch after watch, brand after watch brand. And while the individual pictures look fantastic, it just really weakens. It weakens the influencer for a start. They can't have a true following because they just won't trust that influencer, because they're just not loyal to any brand. So that's really, really important, that you work with influencers who are actual brand advocates of your brand. So actually, think about it. A good influencer to use is your existing customers, or people who really actively engage with your brand. So if you've got customers who are repeat customers, and they rave about you, they're quite good to work with sometimes to push your brand out as well.
Yeah.
So when you're working with an influencer, there's different ways you can work with them. So you can give them, free products. You can work with them by paying per post or per campaign. You can pay by results, by checking the engagement levels, likes, comments, etc. There's an affiliate model, so they can post an image or do a video and have a specific code related to them. So when their followers purchase, they put in that code for a discount, but then that allows you to measure, and they'll take a percentage of those sales. And there's the hybrid approach where you can mix that, so you can give them a free product, and you can also pay them, but you can also pay by results as well, and add an affiliate. So there's different ways to work with them. Find a way that suits your business model, and find a way that suits the influencer, because at the end of the day, you both want to, it's a business relationship. You both want to be happy, and you both want to be adding value to each other.
Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up. We've got everything there. The only last thing to touch on is before you get started with influencer marketing, think about your business and whether it's going to be suitable and actually provide a return on investment. One of the examples might be, if you're an accountancy practice, it'd be a bit of a struggle getting an influencer who's going to get you a genuine return on investment, as opposed to, say, for example, if you were a t-shirt brand.
Yeah, definitely. So that pretty much wraps everything up. So thank you very, very much for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Thank you.